Okay, hello everyone. My name is Peter, and today we are going to look at an interesting pen, different than I've ever seen before in some ways, but also in a lot of ways similar. Before that, however, I want to go back to a product we looked at some time ago, a month or two maybe, a video in which I took this Write in the Rain sketchbook and took it into the shower to test if it truly was good for writing in the rain. And since then, I never took it out of the shower. In fact, I just kept it on one of those little shelves in the shower, that you're supposed to put soap or shampoo or loofahs on or whatever. And every now and then I would write something in it, but mostly it just sat there with the Fisher Space Pen and got soggy. So now we can look at how it stood up to the water. And I did put it outside to dry off a little bit, but I had it open to these pages so that these two, the cover pieces were stuck together and didn't dry out completely, as you can see. So interestingly enough, as you can see, the pages are warped, but still completely intact. They're not falling apart or anything, even after a month of mostly daily showers. Interestingly here, this is how it was sitting in the shower like this, okay? The water was going onto it like this, and you can see this stuff. It seemed like it ran a little bit, but more interestingly over here, this page also had words on it, which transferred over onto this page. Isn't that weird? Look. Oh wait, no, there's more words here. And here. Oh no, I don't know what I wrote on this stuff. I think I was having weird little existential crises in the shower, and I was trying to motivate myself in the shower and writing notes to myself. Do better, Peter. You know it's worth it. I think those are usually the kind of shower thoughts I have, but I usually don't write them down. Anyways, here's the pen we're going to be looking at today. As you can see, it says Hex on the front, and it is called a HEXPEN. And it's from a company called HEXPENs. Now, this company, I think they sent me an email, maybe an Instagram message or something saying, hey, can we send you a pen? I was like, sure, send a pen. And this is how it came. Actually, I'll be honest, I did peek in this box already, and the first time I peeked, it was kind of more arranged like this. Like it all kind of came out of the slots during shipping, but that's okay. And then I couldn't resist putting it back in the little slots. And this packaging does remind me a lot of some of the other stuff I've seen, like from Moon Men and stuff, which is totally fine. I'm fine with the cheap, minimal packaging, because I'm not buying these as gifts or anything. I just want to learn about the pen. And as you can see, it is very interesting. This is what they call their DNA model, for obvious reasons. Got the double helix in there. And I just looked them up on Instagram. They only have 34 followers at the time of me recording this. So this is not some big company. I think they said these, let me zoom in a little bit. I think they said these are 3D printed somehow. I'm not entirely sure how that works. Maybe they 3D print the whole thing, and at which time I'm assuming the outside would have been a lot rougher, and then maybe they smooth it down on a lathe. I know one time I had a roommate who was very into woodworking, and he was making some pens of his own. I know that when he put those pens on the lathe, they have some incredible variations of sandpaper for pen making that you can get some very smooth finishes with. Like regular sandpaper, is 80 grit, 200, 300 grit maybe. Maybe if you're getting crazy, 800, 1200 grit. But I think for this sort of thing, you get like these little pads for your pen in the lathe. And as it spins, you hold these pads of sandpaper that are like, I don't think I'm incorrect in my memory when I say that it's like 20,000 grit. It feels smooth to the touch, but it makes a difference as the pen spins and you hold it there, and you can get a nice glossy finish. Anyways, let's look at the nib here. I'm sure this is some nib that someone might recognize from somewhere, because I think you can just, there's companies that supply these nibs, right, for people that want to make their own pens. As we can see, there's a B on it right here, which suggests it's a bold nib. Most of my pens are F and EF nibs for fine and extra fine. I am a little bit concerned. I don't know if you can tell. It looks like the plastic or the resin or whatever they've made this out of, it looks like it's cracking a little bit here around this ridge. Just maybe when they jammed the nib in there, it's just way too snug, and I don't know. It could end up not being an issue at all. Just something I'm noticing. But obviously the big part of this pen is this helical design on the inside, which does look very cool, and that's obviously why I think this pen is unlike anything else I've ever seen. Of course, oh wait, it came with instructions. It says, please unscrew this section to body threads, the section to body threads in a clockwise direction. Section to body threads, clockwise. Oh, it doesn't go righty-tighty. It goes righty-loosey, lefty-tighty, which is opposite to all the other threads on this pen. Furthermore, avoid direct water exposure to all of the metal parts on this pen. Okay, they're throwing a few more, wrenches in the gears here with the cyclical turning of the pen. Interesting. Even this metal thing can't get wet. I feel like usually I'm pretty okay with washing most of my fountain pens. You might have noticed there is a little, oops, I'm turning it the wrong way already. There's a little gasket in here, which they've given us 4 extra of. Now, I didn't pay attention to how much this was. I'll put a link to their Instagram and hopefully find out how much this costs. I don't know. I'm guessing to fill this, yeah, here's a irregular filling method. You take this back part off. There's another gasket here, which I'm gonna actually push down a little bit more because it seems to have maybe ridden up a little bit. Maybe it's okay. I guess we'll find out, huh? I don't know if this washer can go on backwards or not. Hope not. Excuse me. I guess we can just dive right in and put some ink in here. I'm just going to put black ink in it like I want to. I'm going to use this TWSBI ink that I used in a previous video recently that I bought in Portland because it's been doing okay for me and I like the bottle. To all the people a lot of people have been sending me messages asking what kind of ink I use regularly. Right now, my kind of go-to ink, I'm looking around for the bottle right now, but I don't see it in all my pile of stuff. My go-to ink is sometimes this Waterman ink for putting in fountain pens, and sometimes it is this stuff. Platinum is the brand, and it's carbon ink. I think carbon is like a subtype. It's one of their types of ink. They also have ink that's not carbon ink, and I think that means it's not waterproof, but I could be wrong. Anyways, let's get the eyedropper. Slurp it up. Then we will drop the ink in here. Oh, it just goes right down in there. You can see that like all of this is like hollow stuff, which is what I suspected, but you're not really sure until you put the ink in there. I'm gonna put some more in. Oh no. Something bad is happening, which you will see in a second. Once I zoom out. It's leaking right out of the nib onto my finger. It's just like pouring out. Maybe this is not a good ink for this. Maybe the back. Maybe the back needs to be on it to provide some sort of. I'm going to try to fill it up here. All right, I think, is this enough? Like maybe there's too much. You know what I mean? Like nothing's stopping it from flowing out the other end. It's really drip dropping quite a bit. We'll see if once I put this on the back, will it stop drip dropping? Kind of staunched the flow. That definitely looks pretty cool. This could be the thumbnail right here. Kind of like that, you know, it's kind of artsy with the drip dropping behind it, I think. Anyways, I think it stopped after that. I don't know if I did anything wrong. It definitely is a bold nib. Very bold. It's fun to write with, though. And it definitely does not have ink flow problems. Well, it does have ink flow problems, but it's on the opposite end of the spectrum than sometimes we're used to with fountain pens. I've definitely never had this puddle problem happen before. Oh, by the way, when I saw this package, right, HEXPEN, it reminded me of a bow tie that my parents gave me. I think maybe my sister might have been in on it before also for my birthday, right? Don't these look similar? HEXPEN, hex tie. And I have never really worn it before, so wait, let me button up. I really should wash my hands so I don't get ink on this shirt, but I don't think it's waterproof ink, at least I hope not, so it should come off if I wash it, right? Also, there's not really ink on my fingers, just on that one pinky knuckle. I think this is one of my Muji shirts, by the way. I like it, except for sometimes when I'm looking down at things in my lap, the pinstripes get like, become a kind of dizzying, how do you say that word? Moira pattern in my eyes, in the corner of my eyes. Here we go. I should have put this on at the beginning of the video, huh? Can't really tell. I'm using the screen of the camera as a mirror, and it's very small and far away. Anyways. What do you think? How's it look? Do I look like I work at a carnival now? Bow tie and striped shirt. Let me put the lid back on our ink bottle. And squirt the rest of the ink out of this little thing. It's most of it, I think. Oops. Just touch the puddle. So we will draw with this now. It seems to have stopped. Or it's still pretty loose, but it's not the Niagara fall of ink that it was a minute ago. Oh, here's the lid. I'm going to put the lid on it for a second. Wait, let's see if it posts. Not really much posting to be had. That's okay. It's a pretty big pen anyways. And then I'm going to go wash my hands, and then we can do some drawing. I like that sort of thing. All right, so I got into the drawing, and I'll talk about the drawing in a second, but first of all, I want to point out that I think there were a few very incredible things I overlooked and did horribly wrong in my initial assessment of this pen as I was looking at it. Just incredible. First of all, and largeliest of all, I'm sure some of you have noticed this already, and were yelling at your computer screens as I filled up that pen, why didn't I just leave the back of the pen screwed on, right? And then take off the front of the pen, the part with the nib attached, and then pour the ink in that, the part you might call the top or the front of the pen. Why didn't I pour the ink in the front of the pen? Who knows? I don't know. I think I just found myself in that moment unscrewing the back of the pen just as I was exploring it and then seeing the holes where I could pour ink in, and then I just went, yeah, let me pour the ink in here. But obviously it would have worked way better to pour the ink in the front of the pen, since that part also comes off, and then it wouldn't have leaked out all over me. So the way it leaked all over me, it may have looked bad and it may have looked like a design flaw, but I don't actually think it was. Okay. That was a prime case of user error. And I think the main reason why the back of it comes off, which I think is actually very good, is so that you can clean out the pen more easily and maybe just hold it under a faucet and run water through it, because the inside of the pen is a very, it's very atypical structure in there, right? The very intricate shapes of like the DNA double helix. You can't clean it out like maybe you normally would, or I don't know. I don't even know how I normally clean out my pens except for rinsing them with water. But normally the back of it doesn't open also. Anyways, it's fine. That was my fault. Also, secondly, I think I didn't perfectly nail down the manner in which they might have made these, because on second inspection, as I looked at the pen again, I noticed that in the acrylic of the pen, or the clear part of the pen, there were actually bubbles suspended in some of it, kind of equidistant away from both the outside of the pen and equidistant from the two helixes. Bubbles in there, and I don't think you can 3D print bubbles. So now my second, I mean, I guess you could, but not so convincingly. So now my second guess of how they make these, I don't know why I'm so guessing so much. I mean, I should just appreciate the pen for what it is, right? I'm guessing that they 3D print that inside structure. Somehow they 3D print that, and then they put that in some sort of mold and then pour the acrylic in around it, like the resin, right? You can get like these resin, I don't know, it's a thing that you can do, right? What do you guys think? What is your guess on how it's made? It's a pretty cool thing. I was looking at their website, hexpens.com. For some reason, I'm more interested in the people who make this than normal, mostly because they only have like 30 followers on Instagram. And so it did surprise me, but maybe it shouldn't be surprising that this pen on their website is $154.67. I'm sure the weird price is because they're based in Hong Kong. I think they're let's see, it says their team, their co-founders. I don't know if they're just friends. Anyways, I think they're university students at Hong Kong. And so I think it's just like a little side business they're starting. This is their only pen they have going. $150. So it totally makes sense. They probably don't have like a huge stock of these, right? And it probably takes them a while to make each one. I'm totally okay with that price, but I understand if it is a little bit off-putting. But there are other pens that are, especially in the fountain pen world, $154 is not uncommon. There are other pens that are much, much more expensive and are not made by in the loving care of a couple of engineering students with a enthusiasm for fountain pens. Anyways, I don't know why I'm trying to sell this so much, except that I am kind of, look, when they first offered to send me one, I thought it was kind of like a weird, cheap kind of just like some dumb idea. I don't know how else to say it, like some weird chintzy pen you'd find at the flea market or something. But now I'm kind of seeing they put a little bit of thought into it. Like, it actually works. You can rinse it out, the water can flow from both sides. I don't know. I like it more than I thought I would. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, check them out if you want. Also, oh yeah, those are the two things I was going to say. Yeah. HEXPENs. and while I was wearing my hex bow tie. As far as the drawing goes, I'm trying not to get fed up with myself for still somehow being stuck in this groove of drawing lumpy, amorphous shapes. Like there's something that a giant celestial being found deep in their nasal cavity, right? I think something in my mind is still just trying to figure out all the nooks and crannies of all these nooks and crannies I like drawing in the blobs. And I was just reading a book. Actually, I just finished a book called, where is it? It's called The Architecture of Happiness. It's mostly an architecture book, but it's one of those books where it presents ideas that can be applied to a lot of things, mostly art, different types of art like architecture, drawing, poetry, stuff like that. But it's by Alain de Botton. I think that's probably how you say his name. But basically, one of the things that this author suggested was that a lot of the things we find beautiful and we like surrounding ourselves with are things that we are lacking in our lives, that we're just trying to get more of. I guess that it almost sounds weirdly obvious when I said it out loud like that. If we have less of something, we want more of it. But maybe I'm drawing all of these weird shapes, which I think mostly come from nature, because maybe I don't have enough of nature. And maybe if I went out and lived and was more immersed in nature, I would find myself drawing less nature-themed things, like more angular, sharper things. I'm not sure. But I think something about that suggestion, and of course, I think there was like a whole chapter on that idea, which I probably did a poor job of summarizing, but something about it rang true with me. I think a lot of these shapes are inspired by things like, of course, I've mentioned I mentioned like mushrooms, fungus. I think moss, the lines inside and outside of trees, even lines that, just unintentional lines, even in things that mankind makes, like in like unfinished concrete and stuff like that. Weird like water stains, the edges of puddles on a sidewalk or in a parking lot. When there's a puddle and then a little bit of oil seeps into the puddle, that can make some of the most beautiful and inspiring lines and shapes, the way it all swirls together, not to mention the colors. But there's just lines everywhere that I guess I'm trying to mentally wrap my head around. I don't know if I ever will, but I'm hoping eventually I'll move on. But like I mentioned, I'm just trying to I don't know if drawing gets stuff more out of or into your system, but I don't think anything bad usually comes of it. So I'm just going to keep on going, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll take it easy. Okay. Have a good one. All right. Goodbye. You and me, sitting in the back of my memory, like a honeybee, buzzing round a glass of sweet Chablis. Radio's on, windows rolled up and my mind's rolled down. Headlights shining like silver moons rolling on the ground. We made love in every way love can be made. And we made time look like time could never fade. Saturday made Sunday feel like it would never come. Gonna be a long Monday, sitting all alone on a mountain by a river that has no end. Gonna be a long Monday, stuck like a tick of a clock that's come unwound again. Soul to soul, heart to heart, and cheek to cheek. Come on, baby, give me a kiss that'll last all week. The thought of you leaving again brings me down. The promise of your sweet love brings me around. Gonna be a long Monday, sitting all alone on a mountain by a river that has no end. Gonna be a long Monday, stuck like the tick of a clock that's come unwound again.